Rafael, are you willing to demonstrate to us a leapfrog?
I'm not sure you want to see that. I can take my jacket off and then try. Maybe it works.
It's totally up to you.
Well, the leapfrogging, I mean, we have a wonderful German, in Germany you can always add up words and create new words. So in Germany, the Leapfrogging Agency is actually called Agentur für Sprunginnovationen.
How many letters?
It's about 27-ish or so, I don't know. But what it really means is of course, innovations that disrupt markets, that change ecosystems, that create new business models. And we've heard a lot that that's a huge problem in Europe, that we're not really participating in those anymore that much, right? And so the job of the agency is to create an ecosystem that fosters such innovation and keeps it here.
Good. You want to tell us one word more how you are going to do it?
It's about people without jackets again. I mean, innovations are usually done by innovators, and we have to find those. Those sit in the science systems or in the economy or even in politics, but they don't really have an environment where they can actually create their innovation, because they're limited by finance, they're limited by the incremental innovation that you get in the economy. They don't get the money, they don't have the ecosystem, they don't know how to build a company, HR, what have you, all these kinds of things. And sometimes we even need to change legislation to create such innovation. And thus there is no access to politics to change that. I mean, we've heard today that it sometimes takes 10 years to change things. Of course, we've got to be faster. So building a federal agency that has that access to politics, to legislation, to money, and creating an ecosystem to find these people, these innovators, I call them high potentials, hypos. To find these hypos, they tend to be very special people. You saw one, the Pirate Bay guy, he is certainly a special guy. That's the kind of people that you want to attract and give them an environment that they can now focus on actually doing what they want to do and keep all the rest away from them. That's what I'm trying to build.
And one last question. You left your private sector role, or you are doing it in parallel?
Well, there are people that build electrical cars and rockets at the same time, so I'm trying to be that. My Open Exchange is a disruptive company. We're an open source company. We're saving email from Demise, which is a federated, open, permissionless communications protocol, which is great. We're building real-time messaging on top of that to rid the world of WhatsApp. ICQ, unfortunately, has gone already, right? But
I think it still exists in. It still exists in Russia, I think.
Oh, it does. See, I still have my ICQ ID and those of my kids.
I gave it up already many years ago.
But the world went down from there, right? Why are we using silos that are controlled by individual companies for real-time communications? There is no technical reason for doing that. We're liberating the digital identity on the internet with Open Exchange. We founded it with Katja. Katja, say hello to the world. ID for me is a protocol for identity on the internet, which is open, federated, and permissionless. You would have guessed that. And that's how we build sort of this third ecosystem, the European answer, to the digital super capitalism or digital dictatorships that we have in the world. And that's what my company does. And it's kind of part of what we should be doing also as an agency, only that we could do much, much, much more.
Good. Nili, yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself since Gan Shoshana. No, you can start later.
Yeah, I'm already...
What
I know it doesn't look like it, but I'm going to be 50 now, so it's a long way to go.
If you tell us the exact day, we will send you chocolate.
I will. Thank you for having me here. And I work for the Israel Innovation Authority, which the name authority I don't like so much, but this is a very, almost a 50-year-old organization that supports innovation in Israel. And as Yossi said, Israel is quite a unique ecosystem, and maybe I would say that size has also something to do with it. It's a very manageable, although it doesn't need to be managed, but it's a very manageable ecosystem where you have in a very small place very high interconnectivity between universities, multinational companies, startups, money flowing, ideas, and so everything is very manageable, informal, no jackets around. It's too hot for jackets. We're coming to Europe to cool down a little bit, although it's becoming rare as well. But so this is what we do, and we as the government agency responsible for providing some funding and looking at innovative models to increase this innovation trend, mostly working with young companies, but also with providing funding for larger companies to look at more long-term innovation. We are also highly connected to the European landscape. And I don't know if I'm saying something new here, but Israel has been for over 23 years associated to the European framework programs, Horizon, FP7, FP6, 4, since 1996. And this provides an opportunity for Israel, first of all, to enjoy the long-term thinking of the European Union or the Commission, the way that Europe looks at things. Israel is a much more experimental, short-term thinker or innovator, and also provides an opportunity to increase the collaboration between young Israeli startups and the European landscape, hopefully with a win-win situation for both sides.
And what is your specific role?
So
why my tax money have to pay your salary?
I don't know if I can answer that, but I am the one responsible at the Innovation Authority for all the connection to the European landscape, both the European programs and bilateral collaboration. So hopefully coming here, I can justify the paycheck. But
Good. So thank you, Nili. We will come back to you. Rafael, so you are now heading this new agency. And you are looking to identify these people which are more creative, more innovators, willing to, more entrepreneurials. How are you going to go about it?
Well, it's, of course, to create visibility so that these people with great ideas see us and find us. That has already worked on the German scale, of course, because we've really only announced it in Germany so far. We will raise this to the level of Europe, and that's the extended Europe, by the way. Next week, I'll be in Paris and meet, with people from sort of Europe, and that includes Israel, includes Switzerland and Japan, which is an interesting view. It still includes the UK.
I like this definition of Europe, including Israel, Switzerland, and Japan.
Yeah. It somehow makes sense, not geographically, but somehow it does make sense.
Look, if United States has Hawaii and Puerto Rico, why Europe shouldn't have Israel and Japan?
Yeah, and some greed for Greenland, right? Well, anyway, yeah, no, I like that too. And I'm really looking forward to it. And of course, it should be not only a European effort to do these things. I mean, to liberate us from some of the things that we've discussed today. I guess that should be a global effort. Now, how do we find them? We want to be attractive. We want to be cool. I mean, why do people want to work for, say, SpaceX? Because I mentioned it. Because it's really cool, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to be. And of course, you might say, oh, a federal government agency that's cool, right? That's going to be interesting. That's probably the first one we're going to see. But I think that's the challenge. That's what we're going to do. Somehow the government decided to pick me, which is also very unusual. I'm very non-government. I'm just an entrepreneur. My university career took 3 weeks, and then I quit. Right? So I'm not your typical professor either. So in a way, I think Germany is trying to do something different and something unusual to attract the kinds of, inventors can be very, very weird people, right? And they have sometimes a hard time, living their lives. And I guess, being in the IT industry, you're used to that. You know how to deal with these kinds of people because you yourself are one, right? So I think that skill will be very helpful in finding those.
And do you see this trend widening up in Europe as general, or this is just a German kind of an approach?
No, actually, it's going on everywhere pretty much. There's a European Innovation Council being founded, but since it's now on the European level, it takes 3 years before it's even founded. So in a way, it was always funny to say a government agency in Germany is agile, but compared to that, it is agile because we're founding now. It only takes us maybe a couple of months to do it. But of course, the idea is once we've taken off and we're operational, we will collaborate with everybody else in all the countries as much as we can. And then hopefully, sort of the end game is to have a huge European, in this new definition effort, joined together.
Now, without trying to offend, really, I'm afraid that I'm sounding too offensive. the trade-off between regulation, laws, procedures, etc., and being nimble and fast and small and quick. How do you see it?
But there's really two questions. One is, how can I build an agile agency that's nimble and quick when it's a government agency? That's question one.
No, excuse me for interrupting.
Right.
I think the question is how you can build agile industry, not agile.
Okay. Actually, that's simpler, I think, to build an agile industry, because we're really only spawning these things. The idea of the agency is it's going to be very small by itself. We're only going to be some 40-ish people, and half of them are not going to even be employed by the agency. I'm not even employed. I'm pro bono at the moment, so I don't spend any tax money yet on my salary. We will be launching little speedboats, little companies, you know, where we create the environment, where we put the inventors in, where we pay them money so that they can live, where we give them some incubator services so that they don't have to build that stuff, where we help them get access to science, you know, so that they can do research with the science tools we've got in the country, and to start that very quickly and to give them that access and the network. And then we'll see if it works or not. And if it doesn't, we just close down. And if it does, this boat will leave the harbor and go its own ways, which we hopefully also will direct in some fashion that we would like, but it should be a very normal company after that.
Nili,
I have questions for him.
You have a questions?
Yeah.
So you have to move to this chair. No, ask the question. Nili and I know each other. I cannot tell you how long we know each other, because then you will know her age, and I'm
No,
not.
I said my age. I'm fine with my age.
50.
Anyway,
You know,
no.
you are the same age of
Now I'm
my
curious. I want the question.
my
Is that
oldest
okay?
son. My oldest son is also
Yeah, I
coming
know.
50 this year. Okay. Anybody agree that she will ask him a question? Raise your hand. Okay. Ask him a question.
So you're planning to pick your winners? So this is one question, and it seems like you are going to hold their hand for a period of time very closely. So is that the way you think as an entrepreneur, and I'm talking as a government employee, not as is that the way you think they would succeed?
The thing is, we're only holding their hands in areas that they don't really know how to deal with. You know, I'm not going to tell them how to do their invention and whatever skills they got to build their own company. If they got all the skills, I will not see them. They will do their own thing and just take off, and that's fine. You know, I'm looking for disruptive innovation, which is hard to finance. So most of them will have failed getting financing for the project. Right? Some will have failed because they don't get access to the science and the research, because they may need a linear accelerator or something like that, and that they don't have in their pockets. And so we do, you know, as government, we're spending, I don't know, some 30, 40 billion a year in Germany on science, and so we have these big machines for them. So we give them the pieces that they don't have, and we're not gonna do hand-holding where they don't need it. Opposite is true, and we're gonna let them loose as soon as we can. And no, we are not gonna decide if this is successful or not, but the world will decide. You know.
Now, being, excuse me, one of the properties of Israel is that not only we know better what we should do, but we know better what everybody of you should do for his own business. So with this kind of spirit, Nili, what is the advice you will give Rafael in his new agency?
Okay. I wouldn't give advice. I can only say what we are doing, and I think it worked well for now. But definitely we are always thinking what can we do better, and if we need to change the way we think. And I think that Israel also influenced the establishment of the EIC, not the establishment, but the concept behind the EIC as it currently working as a completely bottom-up approach. And Israel for 50 years is supporting innovation in a completely bottom-up approach. So you can fund any type of, in any type of technology in any sector, as long as you come and say and show us that it's very innovative, that it's the team is capable of executing what they say they want to execute, and that there is a market impact on that.
And then what do you do for them?
And then we provide them funding, but we provide them funding only for 1 year, and only if they can show us that they can bring private money as well. We don't hold their hands. We don't provide them any type of, only in small programs for very young entrepreneurs, we don't provide the entrepreneurs any type of additional assistance, because I don't know if because, but I'm saying now that we want them to, first of all, be able to raise money and be able to push the company forward, not just from a technological point of view. And if they are successful, we ask back, we give them some a convertible or conditional grant. If they're successful, they pay back royalties and out of sales of the project, and if they failed, we share the risk. So we are...
This explains the high rate of failures in Israel.
It's true. It's
They
true.
want to get the participation of the government.
Although we have a 30-40% payback, but it's true that it's a high rate of failure, and this is where it becomes tricky, because on the
if
one
you make
hand,
money, you have to pay, and if you fail, the government give you money. Now you think what it incentivizes. Nili, we have to
you
finish.
think it is incentivizing.
Finish now. Time is up. Please finish now. One question. Steffi, can I take one question? Please. Very quickly, the relationship, the European involvement in the Israeli startup scene in 47 seconds.
So we see increasing involvement of Europe in Israel and Israel in Europe. What we see today, Israel has been very US focused. Money came from the US, market was in the US. Now we see, and especially thanks to
name of companies.
name of companies here in
Israel.
In Israel, oh,
Mercedes, Volkswagen,
Volvo, Enel, Merck, Deutsche Telekom,
Bayer.
Deutsche Bank, Bayer, today
Orange.
we see companies coming to Israel to open an innovation hub, to interact with the Israel innovation landscape. We see Israeli companies connected to Europe, and from my perspective, I can say that the European Framework Program, which is a magnificent program from my perspective, I think it's a pot of almost $80 billion that we contribute to as well, has a lot to do with it, provides the bridge to interact between both startup communities. So,
Rafael, Nili, thank you very much. And anybody of you who want to participate in DLD Tel Aviv, please approach Steffi, 18 and 19 of September. Can you say amazing in a more convincing? Amazing. Good. Thank you very much.